And in any analysis of the Industrial Revolution, in any analysis of this Industrial Revolution, you will realize that cotton and coal benefited the most from this new industrial technology. Cotton and coal benefited the most from this new industrial technology. You can also argue that the entire industrialization process in Britain was an improvisation. The entire industrialization process in Britain was an improvisation. What I mean by this, there was no government action. There was no real government plan to regulate these industries, to monitor the growth that was occurring during the Industrial Revolution. Right? So in your analysis of the Industrial Revolution, you have to argue that there was no government control, it was really an improvisation, and many cities in Britain and Europe did not benefit from sophisticated business techniques. Many cities, countries in Europe did not benefit from the Industrial Revolution. They did not fully benefit from the impact of this Industrial Revolution because they lacked sophisticated business techniques and professional skills. Let me give you a good example of these sophisticated techniques and business skills. If I have to build a bridge, you know, I'll have to get an architect to draw plans. I'll have to go and ask somebody to check the land to see if it can support a bridge. During the Industrial Revolution, that did not happen. People had the money and they would just set up a business to produce better iron or better steel or better railways. So they did not have somebody to go and do assessment and said, would this be profitable to set up this industry in Manchester or Liverpool or London? People who had the money, they just went ahead and asked the government, we want to set up the business, and it would be set up, established. So no government control, no assessment, no impact on the environment, no impact on the cities, the urban areas. So this is what I'm trying to say about it was really improvised. You know, as it's in Viking Trinidad, you just get an idea and you go and you put up a structure, right? That's what was happening during the Industrial Revolution. E.P. Thompson, and these books are in your reading list. In his book, The Making of the English Working Class, E.P. Thompson, in his book, The Making of the English Working Class, argued that the depopulation of rural areas, Thompson is arguing this in his book, the depopulation of rural areas was not as extreme as many viewed it to be. Thompson is arguing that this depopulation of rural areas was not as extreme. What Thompson is saying is that a lot of times when people are analyzing the Industrial Revolution, they believe that people just went from the rural areas to the urban areas, the cities. But Thompson is saying that is not true. The cities, what had happened, people did go from the rural areas. Farmers left and the manual laborers left. But a lot of times was people from outside. People from outside of Britain, Italians and Germans, and they went into these British cities and worked, right? In fact, Thompson is saying that in certain rural areas, the population continued to increase, right? So what I'm trying to show to you, do not make generalizations and believe that when the Industrial Revolution started and people started to hear about higher wages in industries, in steel and coal and iron, they didn't just leave their farmlands, leave their goat or chickens or whatever they're mining and go to the city. They stay there, they had a certain loyalty to their area. Any questions? Any questions?
So what era they came from the immigrant?
Germany, Italy, France. Now, other historians like E.J. Hobsbawm. By the way, take out your reading list. Take out your reading list and find where we can get books on the Industrial Revolution. This is a very important topic. You might know how important it is if it should happen to pop up for example. I'm giving you all up some photocopies, an article talking about this era of the Industrial Revolution, and it's looking at the extent of disease and the extent of hard work during this time. Right, in the late 19th century. Right, now, let me just borrow this, reading this. Where could we find books dealing with the Industrial Revolution? Good. Economic and social change on page 7. So on page 7 and 8, on page 7 and 8, and also on page 9, right? 7 and 8, and also on page 9, 3 important pages, you will find books dealing with the Industrial Revolution. The social impact, the economic impact, the political impact, impact on women, gender impact, and you will also find books dealing with Victorian Britain. Everybody got these handouts, right? Right? This is just one of the handouts to supplement your reading, but I want you to make sure you see if you can get some of these books to examine the Industrial Revolution. Now Hobsbawm in his book Liberated Men, talks about the tramping artisan. Hobsbawm, in his book, he identifies a particular group as a tramping artisan. What is this tramping artisan? It's simply a laborer who migrates. Right? Tramping, you're moving from one place to the next place. He's a laborer with skills. He could be a plumber, a carpenter, a shoemaker, a bootmaker, and he is moving from city to city looking for a job. Right? He could work in a factory, he could work in an industry, and he is looking for a job. Right? The tramping artisan, the laborer who is moving, who is migrating, internal migration within Britain, right, was a result of this attraction to the city life, the urban life, attraction to industries, attraction to higher wages, right? Some of these people were unemployed, came to the city looking for a job. And if you're unemployed looking for a job, you're willing to work for low wages and under bad conditions, right? So I want you to understand this too. The Industrial Revolution didn't bring all happiness and a good life. It was also something bad. Now, E.P. Thompson right? I just mentioned that book he wrote. What was that book he wrote? Very good. I thought you all were sleeping. I'm not hearing anybody. He argues that this industrial revolution drained the countryside. This industrial revolution negatively impacted on the countryside. It drained the countryside of some of its best skilled workers. Now remember, I just gave you all a view. Whose view I gave you all just now? Hobsbawm. Remember, Hobsbawm was saying it didn't impact. Thompson is saying it drained the countryside of some of its best laborers, skilled laborers. And Thompson is also saying that the Industrial Revolution destroyed the balance between rural and urban life. Thompson is arguing the Industrial Revolution destroyed the balance between urban and rural life. Now this is how I want you to write your essays. I want you to talk about the views of historians. You notice when I'm giving you this lecture and previous lecture, I don't just say this happened, that happened, this happened this year. I tell you what is the views of historians. So it's not Teelucksingh saying this, Hobsbawm saying this, and Thompson saying this, right? Now on that note, I started to mark your midterm exam. But we will talk about that on the next day. Certainly have to talk about that on the next day. I don't want to talk about that today. Today is a special day. Right. Now, Thompson believed, same E.P. Thompson, that the early years of this industrial revolution, witnessed a growth in provincial pride. Provincial coming from the word province. E.P. Thompson argues that the early years, the early decades of the Industrial Revolution witnessed provincial pride and self-consciousness. Provincial pride and self-consciousness. What do I mean by provincial pride? Farmers would stay in the rural areas. People who could make shoes and live in a rural area didn't just stop their skills and go and work in a factory. That's what I'm talking about, provincial pride. You're living somewhere in Dorset, you're living somewhere in Nottingham. You didn't just leave and come to London to be part of this revolution. Provincial pride, you stay in your province, you stay in your village, and you continue working. In fact, some people waited for the revolution to come to their village. They didn't go out there in the city. That's what provincial pride is. And this is what Thompson is arguing. When the revolution first started, people were cautious. People wasn't sure what it was about. People were also wise. They didn't just abandon their jobs and jump into this industry, the coal industry or the steel making, because they were not sure how long it would last. You understand what I'm saying? This could have been a fleeting fad. So many people were very cautious and not too quick to get involved in this revolution, and they were very loyal to their province in Britain.